Hi, welcome back. And now that you have your materials you need for your sourdough starter, I will show you how to make your sourdough starter for the first week, because it is a multi-week process. First, you're going to take your quarter cup and you're going to either use the back of a butter knife or a leveler if you have one, and you'll level out your quarter cup and then dump that in the glass jar that you have. This is just a pint jar, and like I said, you're probably going to want a bigger jar eventually. And then you will take your tablespoon and you will also level that out and add it to your jar. And then you will also get one more tablespoon for a total of 2 tablespoons. So a quarter cup and 2 tablespoons of flour leveled out added to your jar. And then you will take your quarter cup again and you will get your filtered water and you will add that to your jar. It's really hard if you don't have a wide neck jar, like a wide opening jar, to get all the flour in there and not make a huge mess. And then you'll just give it a really good stir and make sure all the flour is fully incorporated so you don't see any lumps. Well, you might have a little bit of lumps, but you don't want to see any of the flat, dry flour. You want to make sure the water and flour is mixed perfectly well, and that so that it will hopefully get your starter going nice and healthily. A lot of the days I am going to actually speed up because it does get repetitive. There are a few steps that you do on certain days that are a little bit different, but even some of those I'll speed up. I'll just explain what's going on those days where it's a little bit different. So, yeah. And then after you're sure you have it all stirred up nice and well, you're going to want to get plastic wrap or a cloth that is breathable, because you want something, you want to be able to get air bubble, well, the gases released by the bacteria in the fermentation process to be able to escape a little bit. So, yeah. And that is the end of the morning and first day. And then for your evening feed, you'll remove the plastic wrap and you'll basically just repeat every single step that you did in the morning of the first day. So you'll take your quarter cup again of flour and you'll level it out and add that to your jar that you added the morning stuff into.
He actually said that.
And then you'll also do the 2 tablespoons. So there's number 1.
And they're probably below 12.
Level that out. Dump it in the jar. Get number 2, tablespoon number 2. Level it out. Add it to the jar. And then you will, whoops, bumped my camera a little bit there. You'll get your water, add that to the jar. And then again, you will take a fork. Some people are really particular about not using metal, but I don't really care. I'm new at this. I don't see the big deal, because it's not like you're keeping it in there after you're done, so it won't affect it. But if you're particular, you can use a silicone spoon or whatever, or a spatula to stir it up, just as long as you're making sure you scrape down the sides so that your flour is getting incorporated and it's getting mixed really well every single feed. So that is basically it for the first day. You just want to do that. Oh, and you're going to want to set it in a warm spot. Some people will put it in their oven. You just don't want to forget about it if your house is particularly cold. And then I just set mine on top of my stove because I don't keep my house very cold. So day 2, it's just a repeat of day 1. That is why I have sped this up. You're just going to do your quarter cup, your 2 tablespoons of flour, and then, yep, there's tablespoon number 1, tablespoon number 2. Add that to the same jar. At this point, your jar might be starting to get a little bit full, but I'll discuss that in day 3 on what you do on day 3. So yeah, because day 3 is a little bit different. So this is the morning feed. You just want to do the same thing you did on day number 1 in the morning, which is your 1/4 cup, 2 tablespoons of flour, and then a 1/4 cup of water. Stir it, stir it, stir it. And then the evening feed is the same thing. You just add a 1/4 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of flour, and your 1/4 cup of filtered water. Remember, filtered water. You don't want to use city water because of the stuff that the city adds to the water is not beneficial for your starter. So, yeah, and then you'll just level out all that flour, add your water, and then give it a good stir. And then, ooh, yeah, see, my jar is getting very full. I made a big mess on day 2 with, I even had to like wait to add all my water because it was so full. And then you just like give it a very good stir as usual, scraping down the sides. And then you'll just take your plastic wrap or your cloth and you'll cover it back up and put it again in a nice warm spot to get all those nice, beautiful bubbles and hopefully a little bit of a rise. Now, day 3, this is where it gets a little different. In the morning, you're going to stir it down before you add anything to it. And then, after you get it stirred down quite a bit, you're going to take a jar. This is called your discard. You will do this every once in a while. And I will tell you in another video of like how I do that. But I also switched to a bigger jar at this point, I think. Maybe I didn't. It looks like a different jar. This might not be when I switched to a bigger jar yet. But yeah, so you have that. The discard will go in the refrigerator and you can find recipes on Pinterest or anywhere online. Just Google it. So that you don't throw away your discard. You can make like waffles and all sorts of good stuff with it. Then after you have your about half dumped out into a discard jar, you're going to do your normal feed of a 1/4 cup of flour and the 2 tablespoons leveled out, dumped into the jar. And then, yeah, and then the 2 tablespoons, nice and leveled out. There we go. And then we'll add our 1/4 cup of filtered water. And give it a very good stir again. And now there's a nice bit of room in there to get a good stir, which is awesome. Because, yeah, it was getting very full. Which is why I suggested in my previous video that you might want a bigger jar because, yeah, it's like the small jars, after a while, it is not helpful having the small jar. So I think I have a quart jar that I'm using currently. I know I switched at some point to the quart jar. Then you will take your plastic wrap again, cover it up, put it in a nice warm room temperature at least location to get nice and cozy and foamy. Well, bubbly. I forgot to hit record on day 5. On day 3 in the evening, but it's the same thing, same type of feed as you've done the previous evenings. Evenings are always going to be the same. So here we go with the 1/4 cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of flour. This is day 4 morning feed. It's just a 1/4 cup, 2 tablespoons, and then your 1/4 cup of water. And then you give it your usual. Here I'm using a silicone spatula instead, just because I was a little paranoid about the metal, but then I got over it again. So yeah, so I just use a spatula, which actually worked kind of nice because it makes it easier to scrape down the sides. if you, yeah, yeah. A spatula is just better for scraping down the sides. So, yeah, it might be more beneficial to use that. I got a new piece of plastic wrap because my old piece of plastic wrap was getting kind of gross. So it's time for a new piece of plastic wrap. Cover it up, put it in a nice warm spot, leave it till the evening, and then evening on day 4, same thing. Except the reason I'm using a tablespoon here is my quarter cup was dirty, so I looked up online how many tablespoons makes a quarter cup. The answer is 4, so I use 6 here so that I still have my quarter cup and then my 2 extra tablespoons and then a quarter cup of water, which is going to be 4 tablespoons of water. And then give it a really good stir again, and then you will again get your plastic wrap. And yeah, after you give it a good stir, make sure, of course, that there's no more like dry flour. The sides are nice and scraped down. You'll see that I have a rubber band on that. I will explain in another video why I did that. Yeah, and then you just cover it up, put it in a warm spot again. Then for your evening feed, same thing. Or is this? Yeah. So this is actually day 5 now, and you're going to discard some again into that same jar you discarded some in, about half again, and then you will, that's why I was stirring it down in the beginning. And then you will add your quarter cup and 2 tablespoons after you discard about half. So this is on day 5 in the morning. And so, yeah, you'll just do your normal feed after you stir it down and get rid of half. And then add the water. Give it a good stir. Then cover it up and leave it for the evening feed. Nice warm spot. Pull it out for the evening feed, normal feed. Quarter cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of flour. Man, I'm making a mess. And a quarter cup of the filtered water again. And then a really good stir. And you just pop the plastic wrap back on there, put it in a nice warm environment to get all happy. Then day 6, you're just gonna do a normal feed again, no discarding. Quarter cup of flour, 2 tablespoons of flour, and then your quarter cup of water. Give it a good stir, scraping down the sides. At this point, I believe I do have the bigger jar, which was super helpful because it had a wider opening, made it easier to get in there really well for the stirring. You may even want to just start out with a bigger jar instead of the pint-sized jar. Then you'll just pop the plastic wrap on there and put it in a warm spot again. Okay, next day, I believe. It's all kind of running together since it's a lot of the same. But yeah, same thing, quarter cup, 2 tablespoons of flour, then your quarter cup of filtered water, and a really good stir. Stir, 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 stir. Checking for lumps, scraping down the sides. Just making it look all nice and silky smooth. And pop the plastic wrap back on there. Put it in a nice warm spot for the evening feed. Look at all those beautiful bubbles. I love it. So normal feed again, it's just gonna be a 1/4 cup, 2 tablespoons. And then your 1/4 cup of water. And then a very good stir again. I will say I am a newbie at doing sourdough, so I'm sure there's people out there who have been doing this much longer than me who will be like, hey, you forgot to do this or you didn't do this right. But hey, I'm new at this, so cut me some slack. And it looks like it's doing well, so I'm happy. Then you'll just pop some plastic wrap on there, warm spot. I believe this is the last day, if I am correct. It might not be. So you'll do your 1/4 cup and your 2 tablespoons of flour, and then you will do your 1/4 cup of water. Let's see. Give it a good stir. Stirry, stir, stir. Stirry, stir, stir. You don't have to be afraid of like getting rid of all those bubbles because it will bubble up again if you have a healthy starter. So I know it seems kind of like, but I'm losing all those nice little bubbles. Yep, this is the last day, and then you'll like cover it up. You're gonna want to repeat this for like 4 weeks. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I will come out with another video at some point explaining why I used einkorn and also checking in on my starter so you can see how it's going. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share this video. Bye.